Welcome back to week 8 and part 3, continuing on the topic of privacy, personally identifiable information. I would request you to do a small activity before we move on to the content. Watch these two videos. The first one is a TED Talk, the second one is an article that has details about how our data is being used and how it can be used. And when you're done with the activity, stop this video, go please do the activity. Again, these are optional. I don't think so we can actually force you to do it, but as part of the class, I think that you will learn much better. You will learn more interesting things, which I can't directly cover it as part of this class itself. But I can tell you that it will help you in terms of your understanding of the topics. When you watch the video, do post what is interesting, what did you learn from the video, what did you not know about that you learned something in watching this video, what did you take care of, right? So feel free to put this, so to say, in the mailing list as activity week 8 part 3 activity as subject line, right? So when you post, put this subject line so we can actually look at what did you learn from, what did you understand from watching these videos. So continuing the idea of PII, right, personally identifiable information. We showed that in terms of voter surveillance, voter social media data, we could actually collect from an unknown or unidentified user on social, we could actually go to identified user on voter ID. Right? That's one of the things that we saw in the earlier part of this week. Now, continuing on the same theme, can be this PII can be actually collected from other sources also. We went from social, right? Social need not be the only source, but we can actually think of sources from other places also. This one example where in railway station you could see the chart which says information about your travel, source, destination, where you will get into the train, where you will get off the train, your name, first name, last name, right? Your age, your gender, right? PNR. Right? These were the details in the chart outside the train, which can actually give you some information also. Right? So that's what is given here. The broader idea of the PII and the voter surveillance and all of this is called as identity theft. Identity theft is kind of catching up in India, but I think there is room for us to understand the problem better. These problems have been there in the Western world for many years. Identity theft is one of big issues in the Western world. The problem is that I'm PK. You actually create PK's profile as whatever address, picture, credit card, all of that. I'll show you some sort of say ways that people can try and do this, but identity theft, if you this is just an image of identity theft to show you what are the news articles that are talking about identity theft and what is going on. But it's a problem where your identity is being stolen. Somebody else creates your identity and uses your identity as though they are you. That's what an identity theft is. And it can be done in many different ways, right? So how do I, for example, if I were to get a credit card, I need to know some things about you, right? Probably access to your Aadhaar card, probably know your know your age, get to have a picture of you, all of that. So there are ways that people have started doing this kind of sourcing of PII. Some examples are shoulder surfing, right? For example, shoulder surfing is an idea. You're doing something in the machine. I'm actually looking at behind your shoulder and seeing what password you're typing, what secret OTP are you typing, all of that. Dumpster diving has been a very traditional, meaning earlier in the class I mentioned about Kevin Metnick. Please go read. I think I did mention, if not, Kevin Metnick, please go read about it. The book called Art of Deception. Right, he's one of the first known cyber criminals, if you were to look at it. But he's doing a lot of interesting things, how to protect these crimes happening today. Dumpster diving is looking at your trash can, right? And I'm sure at home you get a you get a courier which has your address. We tear open the cover, get whatever we want out of the package. We throw the cover in the trash can, and trash can, you take the trash, put it into a sort of society trash, or you put it somewhere else. It gets collected, right? There's a process in which trash is getting collected. Just imagine if you had access to some of this trash. Can you actually get at least this dry trash? If you were to look at all the papers, let's take you had your credit card bill and you looked at it and you just threw it on in your trash. If somebody gets access to your credit card bill, telephone bill, can they do something with it? And they can. That's what my argument is, that dumpster divers use all this information that they get from this dump and actually make use of it in creating profiles. Social engineering. Social engineering was what Kevin was very good at, which is, I mean, these are pranks and jokes that we do, right? I tell you something and get you to say something that I did not know otherwise, right? For example, Kevin and others who do social engineering is actually the phishing attack also, right? I send you an email as though it is coming from @nptel, right? nptel.ac.in, whatever that email address is. Phishing attack is as though it is coming from @nptel or pk@nptel.ac.in, but actually it is not coming from pk@nptel. It's coming from a criminal, right? Masquerading the identity of the email address in this case, and there's a link in the email, and you are asked to click the link to get, let's take your grades for this course, and when you click on the link, it takes you to a fake page. In the process, they may have collected some personal information about you, or when you come to this page, they ask you for user ID and password, and they collect that information and then take you to a page which says that, oh, sorry, the website is down, please come back, or please retry the password again. Right? So that's social engineering, right? Which is to showcase to you that they are actually pk@nptel.ac.in, and they are showcasing you the grades for the course that you're taking, is what this social engineering is. Right. So you go on a trail to get this information of users also. Of course, social media, I've already said. We've already seen examples where social PII is being collected from social. One of the other source that we can actually also think about is a government data source itself. The voter ID that I mentioned in the earlier part of this week is actually a government source, right? And the government source has this advantage that they are correct and most of the times, very high accurate information that you can collect, right? You can get my social media data saying that I'm a professor at IIIT Delhi now. Let's take, if I have not updated my profile, it will have IIIT Delhi, and you would assume that I'm a professor at IIIT Delhi. Whereas if you go to my Aadhaar card, voter ID, all of that is already changed to Hyderabad. Open government data sources, publicly available. Government is actually making all of this data also publicly available to improve services being provided. Other changes can be done online now. You can make requests on these website services, which can help you to do changes, modifications, like address change, like my date of birth change, all that. Easy accessible for citizens, of course, that's the goal for e-government projects. Also, improved data availability, easy checking and verification. The data is available for me to access anytime, meaning even at the midnight I want to check whether my details are or I want to make a request saying that I moved and I wanted some data to be changed. It is available for us to do that. The only problem is that such publicly available information can actually lead to privacy breaches. All right, these breaches can happen and can lead to concerns for citizens. Right? Disclosure of this information can be catastrophic for citizens also. So I'm going to show you some examples that are possible at some point in time. It may or may not be possible right now because these services are also developing, getting better, and awareness creation like these kind of courses itself, showcasing that this is possible. For example, in the earlier part I showed that showcasing that from a tweet, you could actually go to voter ID. Will probably help some users not to post about it, right? Probably some of you itself will not post about the political party and affiliations that you're voting for on social. Right, Election Commission of India has voter ID publicly kept. So voter ID, name, father's name, age, gender, date of birth, driver's license number, PAN card number, and phone number. Having a list of potential personally identifiable information is what is given here. In other parts of the world, this list is also very curated and made public by the government itself, that look, these are what PII is. Right? So some examples of services where you can get some of this information. And these are services, again, some are paid, some may be free. And also, please go take a look at these web services yourself because these services change. I put in only to showcase that these are possible. Yancy, there's also PIPL. If you do a search for a particular name, it provides you, for example, in this case, it's actually providing you all the LinkedIn accounts of Shrishti Gupta. And the same thing is happening here. Shrishti Gupta, different profiles of Shrishti Gupta, different addresses of Shrishti Gupta, all of it is given to us. So this PIPL, actually, I've been seeing PIPL for the last decade or so. Search with anything, find everything, right? Your name is, input the name and you can get information about that user. Meaning, I think these services are curating information from publicly available sources, but this is only an example for you to understand what all information can also come. Some of these publicly available sources, also this open data, open government data, right? Data.gov.in is a source probably you can take a look at, where government makes data sources like what I have shown from our research group earlier, the data that are made publicly available. Government also makes a lot of data from different sources, right? From finance ministry to farming to medical. All of this data is made public. You can have this, you can take a look at this data and see again what is useful for you. But some examples here from different parts of the world is Indian Qanun provides you legal search engine. You can go to a Indian Qanun and do a search for a lawyer, so do a search for a judge, and it'll give you information about the cases that they have been part of. Or same thing with criminal. OpenCivic.in, data about state assembly elections and profiles of MPs of states. Right? It gives you details of, Ashoka University also has something similar, giving you details about politicians, political party details, all of that. ABQ ride, city buses, fares or other public transport. I think that these are starting to come in India where mobility also data, we are able to see publicly available data for studying city transport, city road services, all of that. ILU streets, crime, education, transport. So in UK, the service provides you a lot of details about crimes, transport, census data, all of that. So that's a small list. I mean, this list is only again an indicative for you to understand that, look, there are these sources that are available which makes even government data public for accessing. One thing we tried at some point in time was this collecting open source government data, also do data extraction using MySQL and PHP, and construct family tree and build. So if you're interested, just do a search for Ocean, or later part of the slides, I probably have a URL for this. Ocean, which actually talks about how we kind of collected this data and made some sense. Again, this is like probably about 10 years now that we did. But the sources are maybe different now, but the sources still exist. So this one, again, all of this is random examples of driver's license. So if you give the driver's license number, so just think about the social engineering that I said, right? Social engineering, let's take shoulder surfed, you got access to your driver's license number. So when I give the driver's license number here, I'm able to get actually details about the address and everything here. Name of the applicant, son, daughter, or date of birth, address, PIN code, driver's license number, which is probably the input, issue date, and validity date. Right? Last activity, expiry date, and some other details also is available. Right. So now the question is, look, when I gave you only the driver's license number, can I get access to all of this? Is it even okay to get access to all of this information? That's a privacy question that we're asking. Now, in similar ways, if I get the input assembly constituency number and name, I give Rohini, which probably we can even get it. Let's take if this address had Rohini here. I could go back here to get Rohini details of voter ID, and it will actually give, so this input is taking only voter's name and the constituency name, and it's actually producing some results about Shrishti Gupta. Right? So again, now let's take this address match. I could actually match it with some address here, and I could actually start figuring out what constituency the Shrishti lives. And can I actually use that for more, right? You take input again as some last name, first name, date of birth. Let's say date of birth, I got it from here, and use the date of birth here to get the PAN details. Again, this is not, I mean, it's going to be extremely hard to do this programmatically, but this is what social engineering is all about, taking one information from one source, using that in a source 2 and getting some information about the user and moving to source 3, and then using all of this to create a profile of the user and do identity theft. Right. So that is what can happen, a trail that could be created to actually get a profile created about you and used against you. So PAN card, this happens. And meaning even at the PAN card level, I mean, I think today things are becoming very hard because for everything you need an OTP which is connected to your cell number. If only if I could actually crack your cell number or get access to you for you to share the OTP with me, I think it will become very, very easy for me to do some of these attacks. So in order to study the effect of these so to say threats, there's this idea called threat modeling. Again, this is not a security class. I'm only giving it to you for understanding that, look, these kind of personal information which you're talking about is available from different sources, but some modeling could be done to find a way so that this can be actually stopped, or find a way to actually measure how much of it is happening. So driver's license has all of this, PAN card has something, and voter details has something. So we can actually see the date of birth being common. Can you put all of this together and create an identity? If you remember the Latanya Sweeney lecture where I talked about connecting sources, right? If you remember, a Venn diagram was here, and then there was some voter details, there was some medical records, and gender, zip code, all of it was here. Re-identification was happening for the user, of the citizens in the US. Right? So that could be actually done because you're able to actually get the same information from multiple sources. You can actually also confirm the information and do it accordingly. Voter attack, creating fake voter ID, given that you have the name, given that you have date of birth, given that you have the father's name of Shrishti, and gender, because of all the things that we did right now. Can you actually create a new voter ID? Right. Okay. Now this is against the financial details of yours, right? PAN card, income tax return filing, all of that. So if you look at this, again, going back to the modeling that I said, a simple thing, threat modeling, there's one technique that has been used called as dread modeling, which is damage potential, reproducibility, exploitability, affected users, and discoverability. Don't worry too much about what it means. I think the context here is that these information that is made publicly available from these sources, there is a way by which you can measure how much of leak that this can happen. The social example that I showed you with Twitter connecting to voter ID, it is possible, but what is the damage it can have is what we can study in this, which is damage potential is leaking sensitive information. Reproducibility, the attack can be reproduced every time and does not require a timing window, because some attacks cannot be done immediately after one attack was done, right? Things like that. Exploitability, a skilled programmer could make the attack, then repeat the steps. The skill level for doing these attacks are increasing. All users, default configuration, key customers, who are the affected users. Discoverability, published information explains attacks. So do people know that this attack is possible? Again, these red models, I mean, these kind of models are useful, but again, these models have a limitation because it is only sometimes helping you to understand what the situation is. But the real problem because of these attacks may be much larger than what we can even measure. A good job if you do by doing these red modeling, doing this threat modeling, all of that. For example, an ATM machine, right? You can actually think of different types of attacks at an ATM machine and build a solution for it. Common names like Manish Gupta, for example, one of the hard problems in these is this common names. Manish Gupta is so common that if you go to social and say Manish Gupta, or if you get it from the voter ID also, it is going to be a little harder to disambiguate other Manish Guptas that you get. And when you go to, for example, in my case, if you see my Twitter, Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn, it's probably possible for you to go connect my handles, right? We have seen this earlier also, right? Account linkability. If you, I mean, no, I'm not too sure whether all of your accounts can be linked. If you do less of these things like keeping the profile picture and all of them same, keeping the cover picture and all of them same, if you don't do all of this, I think it's going to be hard to actually re-identify. And there are also platforms, right, like Linktree. These kind of platforms help to connect all the accounts that we have. This is the only account that you need to know is my Linktree account. Then you'll essentially get all of this from there. When we had done this, so to say, system where you could actually go look up the paper that I mentioned, right, where you could actually see publicly available information, can be collated, all that. Interesting to see that people actually reacted in ways that we did not foresee to start with, which is these publicly available information is available, accessible publicly through programs. Is there a way to delete it? All of that. Takeaways is that large amount of personally available personal information is available on government services. Would be great if some of you can explore this idea in your work or city-state websites. I think that's always my request. Consider doing these kind of problems for your state, for your city, for your location, to do something whether you can understand, you can showcase your skills in understanding a problem, characterizing a problem, even finding a solution. Why not, right? Information aggregation, you can actually lead to PII. Risk with these information publicly available, we got a sense of a little bit about it. That's the paper I mentioned earlier. So I think we saw this, but let me just quickly go over it again. Privacy enhancing technologies. In this context, PII publicly available. Can you develop technologies which can avoid creating issues because this information is publicly available? To balance privacy and utility, we have already talked about this graph of privacy and utility. Minimize personal data usage, maximize data security, empower users to express, protect the privacy of entities. We saw things like P3P, which allows you to express your privacy preferences. P3P kind of platforms also allows you to increase the control. Linkability, if you remember, we talked about, can you actually 0% to 90% or 100% linkability you want. You can set, and solutions can. Google search can change depending on your privacy preferences. Search results. Of course, informed consent, meaning you are collecting my information. I need to know what you're using it for. Data minimization. Can you actually minimize the data that you're collecting from me? Masking is one method. Traffic analysis is one of the biggest threats for data security. We'll talk about VPN. You'll do some hands-on on VPN tools also. Pseudonymization and obfuscation are other forms. So we'll actually look at anonymization itself separately, so you will get a much bigger understanding of anonymization techniques also. We may have seen, I think I may have mentioned about k-anonymity, L-diversity, T-closeness, all of those methods. Right. Some examples for privacy enhancing technologies: Vivo, voice over IP, peer-to-peer networking. You don't have to, I mean, you can share passwords of this common account to people. Only one account is created. All of you use the same password. We have seen some movies also where this is done. ID and password posted online. Many people use this account, so therefore there's not much of a privacy needed in that context, right? It's actually privacy enhancing. You don't know who's sending the email because 20 people have this password for the same account. Obfuscation, anonymization, perturbation of the data, adding noise, anonymization, pseudonymization, meaning this is my Insta handle, can I just change it as CSProf for Reddit, VPN, and of course, I'll be curious to hear about some of the examples that you may have for privacy enhancing technologies.
So hello everyone, in this tutorial we will look at virtual private networks, VPN technologies and installation. So you would have come across the term privacy enhancing technologies, which protects your data, provide privacy and security so that you do not leave your footprint online. So VPNs are one of the simple and effective way which you can use as a tool to safeguard yourself and without revealing your identity online. So before fully looking into what VPNs are, we will first look at how you normally access your internet. So let's suppose you have a smartphone or a laptop as a device where you want to connect to internet and you would access some kind of websites. Let's say you want to access www.iitm.ac.in, and then you will end up giving some of your information, that what website you want to visit, what all web pages that you are accessing. If there is a login information, you will also provide login information, and then this information will go through your router, and then router in turn is connected to the modem via your internet service provider. You will end up sending some kind of data packets which contains all this information to the website. So this website will in return sends you the data packets which will be having your information, let's say your IP address, from where you did access this website, when did you access it, what are all the navigations that you did, and many other information that you may not want to give. Such kind of information can be used in multiple ways to track your identity online. So now where does VPN gets in picture? If you don't want to reveal your identity and want to protect yourself tracking online, then what you will do is here your computer, it will still send the traffic to the internet, but here you will have a VPN server in the middle. So now this VPN server will be very useful in a way that when it will send your data to the internet, it will first encrypt it. So your computer and the VPN server will have a first encryption of your data. So this will help you safeguarding yourself from the hackers, from the snoopers, and even most of the eavesdroppers which might be tracking you online. Now such information is very relevant when let's say your ISP or any other third party can also sell your data online. So that's where VPN comes into the picture. Now, if you have come across, let's say Netflix, Netflix also blocks some of the content depending upon the countries, and there some kind of government policies are there. So there are multiple other websites which end up blocking your content depending upon the information that you provide them. So VPN protects you from all these, leaving all these footprints. Now let's look at what are the different type of VPN technologies. So the very first kind of VPN technology is secure VPN. So over the secure VPN, you send some encrypted traffic over the public internet. These kind of approaches uses cryptographic functions, operations to encrypt your data, and that's why they are a bit computationally expensive. So when you connect multiple or simultaneous devices over this VPN, they get computationally very heavy. So administrator usually reduce the load over the server by allowing very limited devices to connect to it. The very second kind of the VPN is the trusted VPN, where you use private circuits leased from the trusted communication provider. So these primarily includes ATM relay circuits, ATM circuits where you have a dedicated path from your computer to the internet. The third kind of VPNs are hybrid VPNs, where you are using a secure VPN over the trusted VPN. Now let's look into how you can set up your VPN over your different machines. So VPNs can be used for Windows, they can be set up on the MacBooks, Android, iPhones, deciding upon what device you have. Then also there are other VPNs which are mostly provided by industries. So industries do want to extend their private network to the users who are working remotely. So I'm sure most of you might be working remotely, where your institution or an employer, they want you to access the traffic via their private network. So first look into the VPN for the Windows. So in the Windows, you will first click on the Windows Start button, select the settings configuration. So after clicking, you will select this settings configurations, and by clicking on the setting, you are giving an authority to access system, devices, phone, and network and internet. Now you have to click on the network and internet tab. Once you click over the network and internet tab, then you will be redirected to this tab, where you can, on the left hand side, you see that you can select the VPN from the left menu, and then you can add a VPN connection here. So what does it do is you can essentially add a VPN connection. So what you are trying to do here is you have a Windows machine which you can make as a VPN server, so that you can access it, or you can access your home documents, home network via other computer as well remotely. The second thing is, after when you add a VPN connection, you can also add another VPN connection which may be your employer or educational institution VPN connection without additionally installing a VPN software. So this is how it is useful. And next you can look at, this will redirect your profile to add a VPN connection. Now you can create a VPN profile where you will fill all these details from a particular VPN service. So what are the details that you want to fill? You first need to choose your VPN provider. Here it is Windows built-in, and then you want a connection name. You can choose any connection name that you want, and then you need to fill the server name or the address. So we will look at what kind of server name and the address that could be there, and then you have to select the VPN type and then your username and password information. So let's go back and look at how can you choose this server name and address. To understand this, we will first understand what is server name address. Okay, so here to understand the server name, we will first look at if you want to set up your machine as a public IP address, then you will first need to know that what is your IP. So you have to go to the Google and use that what's your IP, what's the IP that you want to use, and then it will give you a particular IP address. And then so here essentially you are setting up an incoming connection where you can feature your home computer as a VPN machine. So you might have DDNS, which is the dynamic domain name system, and then you need to configure this domain name system so that every time you connect to your machine, you avoid configuring the setup with your public IP address changing if you are changing it every time. Now you need to set up a port forwarding on your router as well. You can set up any port forwarding. Here for an example, it's given 1723. Now let's set up the VPN server over the Windows. So I do have a Mac machine here, therefore I am showing you the snippets of how do we set up the VPN server on the Windows machine, and for the Mac one we will do it at the on the fly. So to configure the VPN server on the Windows 10, you will see your control panel. You need to go to your control panel, and then you have to go to the network and sharing center, and then change the adapter settings. So here if you look at the adapter settings page, you will see that there are many network connections. So you will see here there is some private network which is there. So let's click on the file and go to the new incoming connection. So while choosing the new incoming connections, you will also need to check that who are these users whom you want to give VPN server access to. So for an example, here it is given whom you want to connect this computer. So let's say you are accessing, you have a 2-3 other machines to which you want this machine to connect, then you can just check box all those machines through which you want to connect the VPN. Now you can also at the same time add someone as a new VPN user. You can fill in the username, full name, password, confirm password details, and then check through the internet option. You need to just check box because you want someone to connect to the VPN connections through the internet. Then after that you need to select the TCP IP IPv4. This is the Internet Protocol version 4. So it's a type of networking software which should enable your incoming connections. So then you can click on the properties where you will see all these options, and you have to allow access for all these options. So after allowing the access, you will be able to allow all the callers on your local area network to connect to this particular VPN. If you have any specific IP range, let's say any specific address range, this time the organization, they do have a pool of IP addresses where they want these specific set of IPs only to connect to the user. So you can specify the address range as well to connect to this specific IP address. So to connect to this VPN. So one quick tip here is that you are essentially telling number of users that if you have if your IP address falls in this particular range, then you can actually connect to this particular network. So then you have to allow access, and then you are good to go. So the people that you choose, they can connect to your computer. It is a VPN now. So this was the whole process to tell you that how you can create your own VPN server in a window machine network. But this kind of network may not work until you configure your firewall settings to allow these kind of connections. So therefore, after that you need to allow your firewall settings, which is very simple, that you just need to go to the start button, and then you can go to the allow the app through the Windows firewall, and just go to the settings, scroll down the routing and remote access properties. So this feature will help you to allow private and public connections depending upon what checkboxes you choose. Click on OK button, and then you are good to go. So now your Windows 10 VPN server will be able to receive connections remotely from the other computers. So so here you have get one thing, that we have allowed few users, and at the same time we do have a unique IP address through which we can connect the VPN. So this IP, this domain name, you can essentially use here to connect your VPN connections. So here you can use this. Next we will look at how can you use a VPN for the Mac OS itself. So I'll just walk you through the Mac OS terminologies, and so let's go to the system preferences. So you'll see here that we have a network. Okay, you can just go to the network. You will see a list of networks here, and now on the left hand side I'll choose VPN. And when you choose VPN, you will be having that you have edit locations. You can add either the automatic, or you can add specific other, let's say BSc, IITM, something. Okay, these are the locations that you can choose, and then you can for the BSc IITM you can just set a server address. If there is some server address you can add, and then you can add the account name. After adding the account name, you have some VPN applications to add. So here it is FortiTrace being chosen by default, but otherwise you can add all these details in the VPN, Mac VPN itself. Okay, so this is very simple to and then you can click on the apply, and very simple to set up. Then I'll show you what are the other VPNs that we have in the space. So these are the inbuilt VPNs which you have in your own devices as well. So there are other VPNs like FortiClient VPN. So most of the organizations, they do use these kind of VPN because they want all of their employees and the staff to connect to them remotely via a VPN. During the COVID times, you might end up working remotely where you can connect to any unsecure network, let's say Wi-Fi, or while traveling you might connect the public Wi-Fi, and even sometimes untrusted networks which you end up getting on maybe metro or near to some public governmental area. So these kind of networks which are untrusted, VPN helps you to reroute your traffic to the industry or the company network itself. So it's kind of expansion of their network itself. So our institution mostly use FortiClient VPN. So I'll just walk you through what is the FortiClient VPN. So I'll just show you so this is the FortiClient VPN website, and you see here Fortinet is the name, and you have all the products here So FortiClient 7.0 is one of the current edition which is shown here, and you see here all the products: Windows 32-bit, Windows 64-bit, and then Mac OS, Linux, iOS, Android. So this is available for all of these machines. So I have downloaded it specifically for the Mac OS. You can download it for the Windows and other also. Now in a similar way, you set up the inbuilt VPN. You can use this off-the-shelf VPN as well. So since I have already downloaded it, I'll show you how it looks like. Okay, so let's see here. So you see my window where I have a FortiClient VPN, and then you can click on let's say add a new connection. So here you have 3 types of features where you can add either a SSL VPN, or you can add a IPsec VPN, or you can add a XML VPN. So these are the 3 kind of securities that you can choose. Now let's say for the SSL VPN, I want some connection name as BSc IITM Persosum. Okay, then you can add some description which is optional, and then you can add a remote gateway. So this remote gateway is usually provided by the organization itself, where they will provide you a domain name that you need to enter here. So let's say vpn.iitm.ac.in. So this is just the dummy domain name that I have added here. It may not work for you if the organization has not set it up. So then you can add, let's say, customized port in this is again the customized port provided by the organization itself. And then if you want to enable the single sign-on SSO for the VPN tunnel, then you can check this box. Otherwise you can just uncheck it, and then you can select your client certificate as none and just save it. So if you will save it, you will see here the VPN name. So this is the connection that I have currently created, and this is the connection that was previously created. Here you can add the username, and this username could be this is again the username and password which are provided by your organization itself. So let's say that's Persosum and some password that I might end up entering, and then click on the connect button. So through FortiClient VPN you will be able to connect to the traffic or the website, whatever you want to access. Next, let's look at some VPN which are having extended features. So NordVPN is one of the VPN which is developed by the Nord Security, and this VPN, so until now the VPNs we have seen, they have limited features. So this VPN has some features where you can encrypt all your incoming and outgoing data, and then there is one proprietary Lord Linux technology that they have. They also at the same time scans the dark web. If your personal credentials they have been exposed, then you can scan the dark web through NordVPN. And at the same time it sends a real-time alert prompting the user to change the affected passwords as well. So to look more closely into the NordVPN, I'll just help you browse through the website. So NordVPN has a very nice website. So it is one of the best online service which provides you speed in the company. So I'm not endorsing for it. There are other VPNs as well. This is one of those examples where you can get it. So why I'm focusing on the NordVPN is sometimes you need to set up your own personal VPN where you might need to pay some small amount for getting extra features. So that's how you can so if you will click on get NordVPN, you will be ultimately shown some packages which are there. But if you will look at just if you'll just look at what are the features that they are providing. So you will see that they can protect your privacy, stay safe online, and then access content abroad. So this kind of, like, if you want to connect some websites in other countries, with VPN you can access this content on other websites very normally. So I will show you how we can access it very normally. So they also have this 30 days trial where you can just download it and use it. So I have already downloaded it in my machine, and I'll just quickly show you that, okay, how does NordVPN look like. Okay, so this is the NordVPN which you see here. So this NordVPN, you will see on the left hand side, there are a list of countries that you have. So you can choose any country, let's say Ireland. You need to log in and sign up. So first you need to sign up and then log in for it. So you can click on any country where you can choose it, and then you can access or reroute your traffic or data packets through that particular country. Now I'll show you what are all the preferences or features that are provided by the NordVPN. So I will go to the presets. So if you show this downloads, speed, browsing, so these are the some custom VPN connection settings which are shown here, and these settings, these can be chosen from, like, if you choose like recommended country, recommended speed, recommended some browsing. So let's say I click here, then it will suggest me, okay, what VPN protocol do you want to use. So we have seen on the slide that this is the proprietary technology that they use. So they also use OpenVPN, TCP and UDP. So TCP and UDP are essentially the network protocols which you read as a part of computer networks, the transmission control protocol and this user protocol. So you can connect to any recommended country. Let's say you want to connect to Croatia something, and then you can choose your server as well. Let's say Croatia 42. So the foremost reason of connecting through other country is to access some websites which you are not able to access. So let's say there are some websites you are not able to access through India. You can choose some other country server to access those websites. And also there is a threat protection light where you are connected to the VPN, DNS filtering blocks, ads and malicious domains before any threats reach your device. So you can enable it and then it will block all these things. You can also do some settings for the browsing as well, and then you can have the speed and download settings as well. So for the download settings, you can use a dedicated IP, double VPN, some onion over VPN and P2P as well. So these are the different options that you can choose if you are planning to use NordVPN. So so kill switch is also one of the option where you can actually add some apps in this list if the connection from the NordVPN is dropped. So if the connection is dropped, you can quit these apps. Then you can also add some custom DNS servers here. Next, you can add the threat protection. So this will help you to make your system more secure. In a way, it can block your malware-ridden websites, stop web tracking, avoid intrusive and malicious ads, protect your device from infected files. So if you will enable it, again for the enable you will need a login and the sign up. If you will enable it, you will be able to get all these features in your system. Then there is a mesh net where you can let's say route all the traffic. Let's say you want, when you are connecting to NordVPN server, but you access the internet and using some other IP address. So your connection is encrypted in a way that you want to route all the traffic through another device. You don't want to route it from here. So another option that you can choose is that you can access files from anywhere. So this is again based on the trust and your choice of, okay, you want to link some remote devices where you want to access them over the encrypted connection. So these kind of settings are usually used when you want very secure communication. Then NodeVPN also provides you the statistics of all the protocols, connection time, IP address, the number of days of the streak, and the longest connection that you have. So all these statistics are currently not visible here because I have installed it very new, but once you use it, all the statistics will be available. Then as we studied in the extended features, we have a dark web monitor feature as well, where you can turn on this feature and you can keep an eye on the dark web, that what kind of information is actually being leaked with your email address. So if this VPN finds you publicly exposed, it will send you actually an alert. So these are very important features for this kind of VPNs. You can have the VPN appearance, and these are the some trivial functions that you have. So that's all about the NodeVPN. So this is the NodeVPN function, and so there are other kind of VPNs as well, which are Proton VPNs, TunnelVR, provided by many industries, depending upon what kind of features that you want. So there is, if you ask about the question what is the best VPN that I use, and then there is no best VPN as per se, but depending upon your usage, the things that you want to safeguard, your user friendliness, and your accessibility, you can use one of these options. So nowadays all the academic institutions and the companies are widely using these VPN technologies to actually safeguard the traffic and protecting your footprints online. So this was the VPN tutorial. Thank you.
Thanks again for attending or listening to this class. I will be curious to know your questions. If you have any questions, feel free to post it on mailing list again. I'll be happy to take it. Thank you.